Okay, I'm going to show y'all the different ones that you would want to look for when you go to take a cut in here. If you can find the ones that don't have flowers on them, that would be preferred, but if you can't, that's fine too. You really want to look for stems that have two sets of leaves that are closer together, because you can see here, like, some of these are really far apart, and so like here and here, that's pretty far apart, and so you want to look for them when they're closer together, like this one. And you would go right under this second one and take it off and see the difference here. And so this is really the kind that you want to look for. And then you're just going to go in here and you're going to take the whole top part off and leave those two small leaves. And then you're going to take off these bottom leaves, just like that. And see, that's about what size you're looking for, right there. And then you're just going to pop those in your dirt. You're just going to pop it in like that, and that's what my tray looks like right there. And some of these I have 3 in because some of the stems were a little longer, and I'm going to have to put a little more dirt, because you can see this one has got 2 leaf nodes. There's one down below that, but I'll probably go ahead and put a little bit more dirt. I watered these in and it settled the dirt. That's another thing. When you get them watered in and the dirt settles, you may need to add a little more dirt, you know. And that's what I'll have to do to this one. But yeah, just look for those type of ones to cut off. And I tried to do some, with a little bit of different sizes, and we'll see which ones take and which ones don't. What kind of success I have with them. But you want to water them in good once you get them in your dirt, and then you can set them you can set these in the shade if you're, if it's not too late in the fall for you, or you can, bring them inside and put them, near a window, or in a basement where if you put them in a basement, you're going to have some light, because these do need light, but they don't need direct light. It needs to be indirect. Direct light will burn them up. And you're going to want to keep the dirt moist until they've rooted. And that'll vary with these. It could take, up to 3 or 4 weeks for them to root. But I also want to say, since we are so late in the season, if you're going to bring these in, you also could do something like this. You could set them in a container like this, and this is the container that you could use something like this. You just want it to be tall enough to where when you got your stuff in it, the lid is not going to be like right on top of your plants, because you really don't want those touching. This is the lid, the white lid. And so, like I said, preference would be a clear lid, but you can use this one. As long as the light can get through the sides, it'll be fine. And so, yeah, that's all there is to it. Just take you as many cuttings as you want, or as few as you want. this will just help hold in the humidity. Just set them in a container like that. And of course, you've got room to set, a few other things if you wanted to. For instance, if you was taking a cutting off of a hydrangea, or something that was going to need a little more humidity. And so if you put them in a container like this, then you're going to want to check them. You're going to want to keep a check on them. I would say maybe once a week. Just pop the lid up and make sure that they've not dried all the way, they've not dried out or anything. If they have dried out, if the dirt's starting to look a little dry, go ahead and water them. Just pop your lid back on, and, in about 5 or 6 days, just, check them again. If you have them in the house and they're in a room where it's not going to be just blazing hot, you're probably not going to have to water them very often, because that's the whole purpose of using the container with a lid on it. It holds in moisture. And if you don't have a container with a lid, you also can use like a gallon Ziploc baggie. Just drop them down in it and seal it up, and set them, somewhere where they can get some light. That works great too. I've propagated hydrangea cuttings using the Ziploc bag method, and they worked great. Sometimes when you put stuff in a Ziploc bag, though, if the bag is not big enough and the leaves are touching, sometimes it will, cause some of the leaves to go bad. But for the most part, the gallon bag method worked fine for me. I didn't have any trouble with it. And so this would be the same way. If you don't have room for a container to set somewhere, or you just don't want to mess with it, just pop them in a Ziploc bag and seal it up and set it, somewhere near a window where it can get indirect light. And, you might even be able to watch them better if they're in a Ziploc bag. But anyways, that's all there is to this, and hopefully I'll have pretty good success with this. I will keep y'all updated. Okay, you can see the new growth, all of the new growth that's on here. And like I said, you can see this one didn't make it, and this one didn't make it. And all of the other 6 are fine, and they're putting on new growth. They're starting to grow. I'm probably going to go ahead and add just a little bit of liquid fertilizer. When you start adding your fertilizer, if it's, something that's fairly new, like this, that's got, the propagate, has been propagated and is, just starting to put on fresh new growth, and especially because it's in the house and it's, toward the end of January, I'm going to only do like half strength, or maybe even a third of what you normally would put, if you were doing liquid fertilizer, because at this point they're going to be needing some nutrients. And so, but this was a very good experience for me, because, never having propagated Agastache, and actually I propagated it right out of the pot you saw in the video. It wasn't even planted in the ground yet, which it is now. If you watched my last video, that was one of the things I propagated. That was one of the things I planted, excuse me, which is what these propagations actually came off of, was that plant. So I'm excited, because now I can either plant a drift of these somewhere, or I can just kind of spread them about in different places in the yard. Uh, and so your Agastache being, great plants for pollinators, and it's a perennial. It's going to come back every year. And so I will say though, if you were propagating this earlier in the season, like in the spring or early summer, it wouldn't have taken as long as it did for it to take root and start growing. I did this literally at the very end of fall, right before we were fixing to have a freeze or our first, hard frost. And then they immediately had to come inside. And if you do this earlier in the season, spring or summer, really early summer, you can do it anytime, like you saw I did. But it'll take root and grow a lot faster. You can just set it under a shade tree somewhere in the yard, or on your porch that's covered, or you just want to make sure you keep it out of the sun until it roots. And so that's it. I wanted to give y'all an update on it because at the time I made the video, I didn't have anything to show y'all that it was actually going to work. And so if you were looking to propagate some Agastache, I hope this helps. Until next time, bye.